Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Schaefer, and my research report was over fluency development in at-risk fifth grade students using the Rewards reading program. I'll start with the problem. The basis of it is just fluency. Today, about 1/3 of students read fluently in fourth grade, and that number actually goes down once they reach eighth grade. The importance of fluency is really focused on in schools today. Research has been done to show that fluency is a direct predictor of future success, and it also is just a predictor of how they will do in comprehension and reading in general. Lots of states have started initiatives to improve fluency scores, such as the state of Iowa with implementing FAST across the state and making it mandatory for students K through 5 to participate in that. Because of the stress that's been put on fluency, interventions are being put into place across the state to really focus on this within the classroom. And just as a personal connection, fluency has been really focused on in my classroom in the last 2 to 3 years because of the initiative that the state of Iowa has put into place. And we now use the FAST system, as many of you probably do. And with this FAST system, if students do not meet benchmarks, we're having to mandatorily we have to put into interventions into place to make sure these students are really being focused on. Before we start, I think it's important to understand what rewards is, because a lot of times when people read it, they think it's some kind of reward system, and it's not. It's not that. Rewards is it's a program that was created a few years back, and rewards is broken up into different lessons. I have the lessons over on the screen. There's lessons A through K, and they all focus on a different aspect of reading to improve fluency. Some of the things that it focuses on is blending word parts, vowel combinations, vowel conversations, practicing parts, vowels, incorrect words, prefixes, suffixes, spelling, and vocabulary. Students have about 30 lessons throughout the school year that they complete, and each lesson is set up the same way with the lessons A through K being focused on. Because it's broken up that way, I decided to do my literature review on some of the segments within rewards. So some of the ones I'll focus on is the blending and segmentation, the vocabulary, oral reading, and affixes morphology. Blending segmentation is words being broken apart and words being put back together. This is a huge focus within rewards, and research has shown that increased fluency scores when students were able to pull apart and pull together word parts. By knowing those word parts, research has shown that they're able to read more fluently. With vocabulary, increased fluency scores when reported reading was paired with vocabulary instruction. There's just a little part in vocabulary within each rewards lesson, but it is shown that the fluency scores can increase when that's implemented. Oral reading is the next one. Research showed that when students participate in oral reading, the specific one I looked up was read aloud, they can increase their fluency scores, and rewards uses oral reading throughout their whole lesson. Students are continually reading things out loud, in unison or with me guiding them through that or their instructor. And then affixes morphology, that would be like prefixes and suffixes, and I would say this is one of the biggest focuses in the rewards program is on prefixes and suffixes. Each lesson, students practice 10 to 20 prefixes and suffixes, have to identify them within words, and that is done every single lesson to where the kids, by lesson 5 or 6, can almost repeat those automatically. And the literature that has been done with that is it has an effect size of reading performance up to 9.13 in some grades. The gap in research within all of this is that none of this has been done with at-risk students, and so that's kind of where my research study was the importance of it came up. My purpose statement, the purpose is to determine if the rewards reading program will improve fluency in at-risk fifth grade students specifically. So how I went about doing my research was, my sample size was 6 students, although I wanted this to be bigger. When I first started my research, I was hoping it would be a bigger number, but I didn't know until I would universally screen all the kids. So it came down to only 6 students, and the ages were 10 to 11 years old. 3 were female, 3 were male. They were all Caucasian except one student, which was mixed. 3 of the 6 qualified for free and reduced lunch, and they were all general education students. There were no IEP students, and there was one 504 student for anxiety. The materials needed within the rewards program, when rewards is purchased, you get a teacher's manual. The teacher's manual is very scripted word for word, so it's done with fidelity easily. There's student workbooks that go along with it, and these students can keep these workbooks throughout the entire intervention of rewards. And then to screen the students, you need a FAST binder, which was provided to me by my district, as I'm sure other districts across the Iowa are also provided one. And then also access to the Iowa Tier system. And the Iowa Tier system is a system that connects to FAST. And through this, I'm able to progress monitor kids, universally screen kids, and it also keeps track of students and lets my district, as well as administration and the state, kind of keep track of those students as well. The procedure to carry out my research, the first thing I needed to do was universally screen for baseline. When you universally screen kids, the whole classroom is screened to check on their fluency scores. And through this, I was able to see the students who did not meet the benchmark. At that point in time, the benchmark was 133 words per minute. And then students that did not meet this benchmark, if it was their first time not meeting 133 words per minute, they were just progress monitored throughout the semester. But if it was their second or more time not meeting the benchmark, that's when an intervention has to be put into place as mandatory by my district. So after that, the intervention was put into place, which was rewards. With rewards, students met 2 to 3 times a week at the end of the day during a time called whatever I need time at the end of the day. The group was very small. It was only 6 students, and they would come for a half an hour, and that is when we would go through the lessons together. And then at the end of that 12 weeks, we would universally screen the kids again. Again, it was the whole class that was universally screened, and then student scores were recorded after the treatment phase. Students would receive the at-risk label if it was their second or more times not being able to meet the benchmark. And a dependent samples t-test was used to analyze the data, so we could see that baseline score and that treatment score. Here is a snapshot of the results. As you can see on the bottom is the participants. There were 6 participants. That black bar represents their baseline score of where they started before the intervention, and that grayish tannish line represents the treatment score. As indicated in this chart, all students improved somewhat in their fluency after receiving the rewards intervention. And then here is just another table of the results. As you can see, the mean difference, which I'm going to focus on the most, the mean difference was 10 words per minute. So on average, students improved 10 words per minute throughout that 12-week intervention. The hypothesis was confirmed. After implementing the rewards reading program, students were able to improve their fluency scores. Some things that I learned while doing this, this was important for me because I learned a lot, actually. First of all, when I was taught how to read, I was taught whole word, and throughout this, I learned more about how words break down, and it made me a better teacher. I also learned different techniques to help readers that struggle with fluency. The results do match up with the past research. The past research all indicated that fluency would be improved through each of those subsections of rewards throughout different research, and the results within my study lined up with this perfectly. Everyone did improve, and although we can't pinpoint it to what specifically helps them to improve, all of those aspects combined, such as prefixes, affixes, vocabulary instruction, all of that combined did aid in the success of students improving their fluency scores. Some implications. The first implication is just for the students. Especially in 5th grade, they're very aware if they did not meet the benchmark for FAST, and compared to their peers, they know kind of where they stand. And just for students to know that they're doing an intervention that will improve their fluency score is really important for them, and maybe through that they might have a little bit more intrinsic motivation to hopefully put forth their best effort so they can improve their FAST score. Um, the next one is also not mentioned on here is also for parents. Once students are labeled at risk, a contract goes home with their parents that has to be signed to kind of say what each party will do to improve their fluency score. And I think it's important for parents to know that this program can improve their fluency score. And so that is really important for parents as well. The other one's obviously for teachers. One of the hot topics in conversation at PLC meetings today is how to improve fluency scores with the state requirements. And so it's really important for teachers to know that this can and will improve fluency scores, as well as curriculum advisors. I'm in a really big district, so for curriculum advisors to know that this program is improving scores is important as they decide on curriculum for the district with the money allotted and everything. Some limitations, the obvious one is sample size. I was really hoping to have a larger sample size when I went into my research. Unfortunately, just the way things played out, I wasn't able to, but I think with making it reliable and is really important to have a larger sample size for people to trust the results. The other thing is when working with at-risk students, I really ran into the problem with attendance, unfortunately. When students were required to come to those lessons 2 to 3 times a week, and I would only get them once or twice, that really kind of took away from making the results reliable when they weren't receiving all of the instruction that was needed. And then there's always external influences, such as an assembly schedule one day, and so we had to skip that intervention time, or students were pulled out of school for an appointment, or students had another orchestra lesson or band lesson. And so those external influences really also made students not be able to attend 100% of the lessons that they should have been attending. And then when I first started my research, the FAST program had a lot of flaws within it. It wasn't super reliable. Sometimes when you log on, it would have too many users on. And so with that said, sometimes students would come with high anxiety, or I would tell them we were going to test them and then it wouldn't be able to be till the next day. And so just some of those flaws I think did influence some of the students and their performance as well. The other thing with FAST is they always take the average score, or I'm sorry, they always take the median score of their baseline and treatment phase tests, and I think sometimes the average is more reliable, and so I think that is also a flaw within the system as well. Some recommendations for future research would be definitely a larger sample size. I think the larger it could have been, the more reliable it would have been. Also consistency in lessons, and that's not at fault of the reward system, that's more at fault of students and their attendance. But I think with consistency, if a student misses a lesson, it needs to be made up the next day. And that could be done by an associate or a teacher, but in order for research to really see if the students are improving, they need to receive all of that instruction and not just skipping some days or some weeks of it. And then the other suggestion, and this was more for when the FAST system had so many flaws, but the other suggestion would be a paper pencil model of their FAST test. A paper pencil would definitely make it more reliable, and you would also be able to reflect on that whole paper and see exactly how they did, because the system just kind of saves it and doesn't bring the test back up for you to be able to see. And then in closing, here are all of my references that were used for my research report. Thanks so much for listening.